Today we have another guest. It's Berta Martín López, and she is Junior Professor for Sustainability Science at the Leuphana University at the Institute of Ethics and Transdisciplinary Sustainability Research. And as far as I know, she focuses in her research on ecosystem services, nature valuation, and social ecological systems. And her focus changed a bit to understanding the role of values, knowledge, and institutions in supporting the transition pathways to a more sustainable state. So welcome, Berta, to our Leuphana College live session.
Thank you.
And we'll start with the first question concerning teaching, because you are teaching in the minor sustainability science, but as well as in the major environmental science and major global environmental and sustainability studies. So I would like to know, how do you experience international teaching at Leuphana University, and what do you think how international students perceive it?
So in my teaching, mainly in the global environmental sustainability science major, which is the one targeting international science students, I like very much to have this setting of international students because they always bring knowledge from their own experience in other countries. So by tapping into their knowledge and building upon their knowledge on case studies and experience in other countries, they allow me to build global knowledge or to fit with global theories, but always referring back to places. And this referring back to places help a lot because it makes theories more tangible. It makes theories that really matter for people and for nature. And so I like very much this experience of building on case studies where my students have already knowledge and experience and connection with nature. This is the first thing. The second thing that I like very much of international students is that we relate with others differently depending on the cultures. So having an international setting always allows me to bring diversity in my teaching, to show the cultural difference and how cultural difference matter for communication and for team building, and how teams can work differently depending on the different cultures you have. So in terms of diversity and getting more open-minded, more aware of different cultures, it's always an asset and an opportunity.
And in which courses do you integrate cultural diversity this semester? So which courses do you teach this semester?
You mean the winter semester, right? Yes. So in the winter semester, I teach Introduction to Environmental Science, the humanities part, also the seminars of Introduction to Environmental Science, the humanities part. And these two courses target both environmental science students and global environmental sustainability studies science students. So it's very interesting because I have the two majors, the two bachelors together, and yeah, the international students join the discussions. Also, I teach in the minor of sustainability science. In the winter semester, it's about methods for doing transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary research. And it's also about finishing up their projects, but I think we will talk later more about the minor.
And so topic-wise in the minor, what is your focus? So what are the topics that you're concerned with?
In the minor, we work on restoring old meadow into a traditional orchard. So the topics basically are around ecological restoration, but it's not only about ecological restoration, meaning in biophysical terms, biodiversity, but also it has a lot of team building, communication skills, diversity, not in terms of cultural diversity in this case, but in terms of students coming from different majors with different skills and different knowledge. Yeah, so these are the topics: ecological restoration, biodiversity, pollination, ecosystem services. And in the major, the topics are precisely my research expertise. It's about values of nature, knowledge systems, including indigenous knowledge, and institutions, and how all together can foster transformation towards a more sustainable and just world.
That's interesting. Could you maybe briefly explain what restoration and what indigenous knowledge is?
What is the first one? I didn't hear you. The first
restoration, because you talked about restoration of the object.
Yeah. So ecological restoration is a practice by which you bring a degraded land, a degraded place that has very low diversity or no diversity, that is not able to provide benefits to people, ecosystem services such as soil fertility, pollination, air quality, or yes, climate regulation, or even aesthetic values of nature. So the idea is to restore this degraded land into another state by which you increase biodiversity, and in doing so, you also increase benefits to people. So this is why we are restoring this old horse paddock into a traditional orchard. And in doing so, we didn't only plant local varieties of apple trees, cherry trees, and pear trees, but also we are doing experiments with understory where we see whether it's better to have leguminous plants, so they fix nitrogen, or not. For pollinators, whether how we are increasing the biodiversity over years, how this understory can increase the productivity in the apple trees, so like increasing photosynthesis or increasing the size of the flowers of the fruits, etc. So this is about ecological restoration. And in the case of indigenous knowledge, which is one of the topics that I have at my heart, indigenous knowledge is all the knowledge, beliefs, and practices that are handed down through generations, over generations. Normally, it's orally transmitted, so there is no written records. And it's all about how indigenous peoples and local communities relate with nature and manage nature. It's all about themselves to be related. In fact, this knowledge is so complex because there are not dualities. So it's not nature and humans. Humans are part of nature. And normally they establish family ties or kinship relations with elements of nature, with the species. So it's so much complex. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I was interested in that because I guess that it's not common knowledge, and especially indigenous knowledge is not part of our, of some scientific bubbles also, I would say. And talking about your teaching, you said that there's a lot of interaction, and especially between different cultural backgrounds. And how did that change during COVID-19? Because I guess that there have been some changes in the teaching. So how do you cope with COVID-19, and how did it change your teaching?
It has changed a lot because my teaching, as you said, it relies on hands-on exercise and human connections, a lot of team building, a lot of seminars where students discuss or do role game. And now this is not possible, physically. So during COVID, I tried to keep the atmosphere of doing discussions. Tomorrow, I have a World Cafe with the students. We will do online, but still we do the World Cafe. I encourage them always to come to the Zoom meetings, to the Zoom sessions with coffee, actually, and we do a first round of check-in. So to see how they feel, how they are copying, tips. So it's a lot of sharing. Of course, I don't have the body language. I can't read the body language well of the students, so to see how they are doing really. But I think it creates a safe space. So they always say how they feel, how they are copying. And we always start with these 10 minutes of check-in and reminding them that, yeah, they have time to drink coffee or tea, wherever they want. So we create this cozy atmosphere. And then the sessions, sometimes it's like kind of lecture, but most of the times are kind of discussions in teams. So you provide them readings and they discuss in teams, and then we come back to the big session, to the plenary, and they report. And in doing so, I always encourage them to distribute roles. So there is one reporter, one person taking notes, one person keeping the time, and they rotate these roles. So they experience different roles. And this practice also allows to challenge gender roles. So this is also very interesting, or cultural roles. Like if I have people from Asia, mainly Japan or China, they used to be more shy than German or from the United States. And by doing this, yeah, you mix up a little bit. And then also I make them realize this difference. And we always finish with a checkout as well. So I can see how the mood has changed over the 90 minutes of session.
Thank you for these insights. I guess it was also interesting for the maybe new students to hear how seminars work these days during COVID-19 and how digital teaching also functions, and that it can strengthen also into human connectedness, so the connections between different students from different cultural backgrounds. So thanks a lot for the interview, and I hope that you'll have a nice day.
You too, Alexa. Many thanks.